Exactly 9 minutes past the top of the hour, 6 a.m. I hope that you had a great weekend. Welcome on board. My name is Linda Alela, and this is Morning Cafe right here on TV47 on this 28th day of November 2022. Just how the year has gone down pretty fast, and we're here looking forward to what the end then has in store. It's my hope that, yes, indeed, your weekend was great and that we are all looking forward to a great one as we, of course, kickstart the week. It's a Monday morning, a little bit chilly in Nairobi. I hope wherever it is that you are keeping warm. Karibu sana. We have so much playing out in the country. Politically, we'll be looking at all that as we also want to appreciate and wish nothing but the best to our students. That is a grade 6 and grade 8 as they start their examination today, and also that will be on for the Form 4 students that will begin their Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education examination. That is on Friday. That is the biggest story of the day. We have our education reporters on ground already. Sharon Baranga will be looping us in as we get to understand just how different the different parts of the country and the students will have begun this important exercise as the country gears up to making sure that we are back to the normal education calendar after the unprecedented time of COVID-19, and therefore we'll be following up to see how this begins today as we also welcome you to be part and parcel of the conversation. Still a fresh face-off between the Right Honorable Raila Odinga and the President, that is Dr. William Samoei Ruto, as we continue to see just how well they adjust into this very government as the ODM leader announces that he seeks to set up rallies across the different parts of the country in support of the besieged IEBC commissioners. Those are the key stories that we look at this morning, and therefore it would be good to hear from you again. The hashtag is Morning Cafe at Linda_Alela TV47KE. We sample some of your comments as we continue with the broadcast. Karibu sana. Let's begin by taking a look at what the papers detail, and then we cross over to what has been prepared by my team, and later on to very candid information or conversations as pertaining to the matters that we'll have looked at on the stories that are making headlines. We'll be having gentlemen that join me for this very important conversation, and then later on also we get to hit the hospital on matters health. The Daily Nation, the Standard newspaper, the People Daily this morning, fresh face off, revealed Azimio la Umoja One Kenya. That is, of course, three-pronged approach to defend itself and deal with the renegades as it counters President William Ruto's charm offensive in coalition's strongholds. In an exclusive interview, Deputy Secretary, that is the Secretary General and National Assembly Minority Leader, that is Opio Wandai, explains Azimio's plan inside and outside the House to maintain unity. This is captured on page 6 and page 7 of the Standard newspaper, the biggest story on the Daily Nation, and also away from it, the maize conversation that made headlines for the better part of last week and last week, but one is still on. Maize imports, farmers protest fall on deaf ears. Fall on deaf ears because there's been this general conversation by the leadership that perhaps it is not time for us to import. Instead, we should consume what it is that our farmers have produced before we proceed on. And of course, we'll be looking to see that and how this then will be different. But even before we continue with the papers, as you can see on your screen right now, that is the CS for sports, Babu Namwamba, also joining in the rest of the CSs across the different parts of the country as they open the examination papers for the students to sit in. As I have told you, we'll be having our reporters across the different parts of the country. Sharon Baranga should be able to loop us in as we also get to know what is happening. As you can evidently see on your screens, All right. Yes, that is at DCC Westlands, Nairobi. Yes, DCC Westlands, Nairobi. That is where our reporter Sharon Baranga is, and CS Ababu Namwamba is there, of course, for seeing this very important process that will cut across the different parts of the countries as we all get to see the adjustments that will be made on the school calendar. Remember, for the first time in history this year, we have seen our students, sitting for the examinations, and so we've had two, national examinations conducted in the country, and this is the second one, and perhaps that one that will level the ground for students, and equally historic for Class 6 students as the competency-based curriculum takes shape. And so we'll be telling you more in relation to that. And actually, it finds its way on the papers this morning. 3.4 million number of candidates who will sit the 3 national examinations this year already, as grade 6 class 8 exams start, and learners in grade 6 and class 8 will begin their national examinations today in an extraordinary highest number of candidates examined at a go. Grade 6 pupils will be assessed in the inaugural Kenya Primary School Education Assessment, that is KPSEA, while those in Standard 8 will sit their examination or their Certificate of Primary Education, that is KCP examinations, as learners complete and also compete. And of course, on this very historic moment, we're expecting the Form 4 students to begin theirs on Friday. Back to the maize conversation, as farmers are protesting over this, and we certainly are hoping to see how best the government is going to make adjustments as to the very same. And of course, Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka throws hat in the ring for presidency, that is in 2027. That is a story captured on page 5. He has declared that come 2027 he will be the flag bearer of Azimio One Kenya Alliance. Whether it holds up to then is a question of wait and see. Those are the big stories, and you will agree with me that once in a while I'll be crossing over to the different parts of the country, that is of course in the schools. Let's listen in to what the CS, that is CS Ababu Namwamba, has to say as pertaining to the examination.
Regarded across the world, because people start doubting the authenticity of our certificates. And so it's very important that we ensure that all these exams, and this is a historic moment because we are witnessing 3 exams that go. CAPSIA, which is the inaugural exam for grade 6 for CBC, KCP and KCSE. So even the logistical challenge is bigger because you have 3 exams at the same time. And that is why government is putting a premium on protecting the integrity of this exam. As I indicated earlier, all the 22 cabinet secretaries have been spread across the country to witness and just ensure that the papers are secure. And I have personally witnessed the container being opened and have confirmed that the container is secure, is safe. All the papers are sealed properly. And I'm glad that now the center managers for all the examination centers are collecting the examinations, and we have urged them to maintain the highest possible standards of integrity. But in future, really, we need to move away from this, because the manner in which we secure exams is a story of the huge trust deficit in our society. And that is why exams become a moment of trepidation, because people are so afraid that something could go wrong. And so we need, number one, to make exam fraud very expensive, extremely expensive, as a deterrence, so that if you're found in any situation of exam fraud, then you pay dearly. And then secondly, we need to build more trust so that we can conduct our exams in an environment that is more trustful, and that will depend on honesty becoming a value and a virtue in everything we do as a country. Otherwise, I wish all our CAPSIA, KCP and KCSE candidates all the best. I have 2 candidates myself. I have a CAPSIA candidate and a KCP candidate, and so I'm part of the large number of Kenyan parents that are praying for our children and just wishing them all the best as they go over this hurdle and move on with their lives. Yeah.
serikali mtakabili vipi watu ambao labda wana nia mbaya ya kujaribu kuvuruga swala la mtihani wazi na kadhalika?
Serikali imedhihirisha kwamba haitaruhusu uvurugaji ama hali yoyote ya kuvuruga mitihani hii, kwa sababu mitihani ya kitaifa ni sehemu muhimu sana ya utamaduni wetu kama taifa na maendeleo ya taifa hili. Ni muhimu sana mitihani inapofanywa ifanywe kwa njia ya ukweli, njia ya halali, njia ya maadili, kwa sababu jinsi tunavyo simamia mitihani yetu in a very direct way ina affect jinsi ambavyo professionals mbalimbali wanazingatiwa ulimwenguni, na serikali imehakikisha kwamba maafisa wake wako macho. Vile umeshuhudia hapa, idara ya usalama iko hapa. Serikali imehakikisha kwamba mawaziri wako katika vituo mbalimbali kuhakikisha kwamba shughuli hii inaanza kwa hali inayostahili, na serikali imetoa ilani ya kwamba mtu yoyote, awe mwalimu, awe mzazi ama afisa yoyote ambaye atapatikana katika sakata yoyote ya kuharibu mitihani ataadhibiwa vikali sana. Lazima tuhakikisha kwamba mitihani hii inafanyika kwa hali ya utulivu na hali ambayo inaambatana na sheria. Thank you very much. Nitaweza kushuhudia mwanzo wa mitihani hii kwenye shule ya Westlands, shule ya upili ya Westlands, hapa kwenye sehemu hii ya Westlands. Yes. Okay. Very good. Asante sana. Okay.
All right, and that is the CS, Babu Namwamba, speaking, as of course they also oversee the process of, beginning the examinations, opening the examination papers ready for the students, of course, this to be dispatched across the different parts of the country, and that is in Westlands Primary School. We'll be getting more updates from Sharon Baranga as well as Paul Muniu, who is in Mombasa County, where it is that the CS for Education, Machogu, who is in Mombasa County as well, will be foreseeing this very important process, and so we'll be crossing over there shortly. But we proceed with what the papers detail this morning. And yes, we're talking about politics. Kalonzo Musyoka's declaration that he will be the flag bearer of Azimio One Kenya, that is in 2027, and we seek to see whether then Azimio will hold, or not so, that what party he will be representing his people with, or along or on. And Hustler Fund, why defaulting on the Hustler loans will be costly affair for borrowers. A story captured on page 8 as Kenyans continue to adjust and await the Hustler Fund. There are a lot of stories that arise as to the same discrepancies for that very matter, but as well they say they are all set and plan to make sure that most of the Kenyans are going to enjoy the benefit of this special fund that is targeted to boost the MSMEs, and we'll be following up closely to see just how they intend to attain this, but also they say it will be a costly affair in the event that you flout the rules at the moment you have received that fund. And so that we'll be looking at alongside the gentleman that will be joining us shortly. But away from the Daily Nation, we have the Standard newspaper front page, and the Standard newspaper front page speaks of IBC for Raila, or calls for return of People's Assembly, and we'll be looking to see just how then instrumental that would be, and whether constitutionally it would be in order for him to hold these sessions. Away from it, why home is most unsafe for women. This again is a report that comes on board. They say, well, people would go back home to find a safe space, a safe haven. It is not the case. Most of the cases that have been, reported as to gender-based violence, unfortunately, are at the home setup, and so begs the question as to what really needs to be done to make sure that this safe space, or this space that has been once, a safe space for women, will definitely be brought back to such at this very moment. Also, when we're talking about the 16 days of, activism against gender-based violence, it's very important that we have this conversation. Away from it, exams like no other. There are almost 3.5 million candidates making. That is in the biggest lot of recent times, and it will be the first time national examinations are administered to grade 6 learners. The pioneer class of competency-based curriculum as captured on page 6 and 7, and we'll be looking to expound some more on that. Same cabinet, different maize scripts. Interesting. A story captured on page 8. This as to the conversation of the maize, contrary to what it is that the trade CS has told us. Just what is Musalia Mudavadi saying? This is a story that has been captured on page 8 of the Standard newspaper on this very report, as the world continues, or the country continues, to hope that the government then will do the necessary adjustments. As I have told you, the farmers are now calling upon the government to consider or reconsider its position on the import of maize, and farmers fault directive to sell about maize in about 72 hours. This as Musalia Mudavadi then clashes with CS over maize imports. The Prime Cabinet Secretary says that order to import maize should have originated from the Ministry of Agriculture and not the Ministry of Trade, a position that many have held. But just why is it that it happened contrary? We'll be speaking to that as we continue with the broadcast. That, is technically what the Standard newspaper speaks of this morning. We have the People Daily. Yes, we do. And we have the People Daily. Let's take a look at what is the first, story of the People Daily. Over 2 million seat KCPE grade 6. That is what it speaks of. And security machinery is ready to ensure that the exams are carried out smoothly. And of course, it's a D-Day, as one would want to call it. Candidates hold future in their own hands over the next 3 days as they prepare to join secondary school. This is captured on page 4 of the People Daily, the biggest story this morning, and we'll be following up closely to give you updates on how this is taking shape across the different schools in the country. Morocco whip Belgium, bets now on Cameroon. Well, Atlas Lions make mincemeat of Roberto Martinez's side as they raise the bar for indomitable Lions. A story captured on the front page and expounded on page 30 and 31 as to the World Cup and the conversation that has been on as to just who is going to carry the day in this 1 month long match, and why IBC bosses could boycott a probe. This is a story that has been captured as well on the front page of the People Daily. IBC Vice Chair Cherera and Masit advised to ignore summons by House team. This as the other side of Azimio One Kenya Alliance has said they'll be out guns blazing in defense of this for also as we await to see the other 3 exit the stage in January, and equally as we hope for them to spearhead the process of the by-elections across the different parts of the country as expected. Those are the key stories as pertaining to the papers. Let's briefly look at what stories we have. And Sichei Soet, a student at the Technical University of Mombasa who was reported missing, has been found alive. Sichei, who was aspiring to be the student leader in the just concluded university elections, was reported missing on the 23rd day of this month. Now, speaking with the media at Makupa police station, he has confirmed that he's not harmed. And on the other hand, the Mombasa Police Commander Stephen Matu has said that investigations are ongoing and that Sichei was not abducted as alleged. He has assured the students that Sichei will be under police protection.
In the rightful manner, the elections were carried in a shambolic way, and that is why I was even issued threats, and that's why we are here, and the whole matter is under investigation of the police.
It's healthy, and more will come after our investigation, and nobody should spread rumors, false rumors that this young man was abducted by the administration of TUM, Technical University of Mombasa, all police officers.
Now, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua's number 2 slot is the target of radical constitutional changes in the Linda Ugatuzi, or if the Linda Ugatuzi push to amend the 2010 constitution goes through. The lobby group, in its proposed amendments, wants Deputy President barred from succeeding his boss until after 5 years on the expiry of the duo's term in office. The move, according to the group, will allow the government to serve Kenyans devoid of bitter succession wars that were witnessed during the retired President Uhuru Kenyatta's reign.
In a radical push to amend the 2010 constitution through a popular initiative, and what will be the country's fourth attempt to amend the document after Okoa Kenya, Punguza Mzigo, and BBI initiatives, the Linda Ugatuzi lobby group flagship amendment, among others, seeks to tame the ambitions of the country's deputy presidents seeking to succeed their bosses by proposing a 5-year rest period after the expiry of the pair's 2-term in office, a move informed by the divisive second-term reign of former President Uhuru Kenyatta and his then deputy, now President William Ruto.
We are amending the constitution to disqualify someone from running for office by virtue of being a deputy president of a sitting president, and to wait for a cooling off period after his boss leaves office. The main reason there, we want him to serve the president. Actually, we are helping the current president to serve him wholeheartedly, like Joe Biden served Obama in the administration. He served Obama for 8 years, waited for cooling off period of 4 years, and that didn't stop him from being the current president of the United States of America.
In case the controversial amendment goes through, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua will have to wait until 2037 to seek the presidency, a move likely to cause divisions in Kenya Kwanza in case the Mount Kenya region settles on Gachagua as Ruto's successor.
We don't want a government that's run in parallel. It costs money. And then secondly, it does not really help to formulate policies which are helping your head of state. Thirdly, you don't learn.
Also targeted are governors who have served their 2 terms in office, with the group proposing a clause that bars the governors from contesting the senatorial seat, among other seats, citing the move as a cover-up to their misdeeds while in office.
We want an amendment whereby if you have been a governor for the last 2 terms, when you leave office, you are barred from standing or vying as a senator or any other leadership position. Because in so doing, we are actually defending thieves and corrupt officials to be held into accountability.
The group has further proposed the IEBC selection panel to be made up of representatives from the 47 counties and all the commissioners to be involved in tallying of results at the National Tallying Center. Also targeted is the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission EACC, which the group wants given prosecutorial powers, the National Government Constituency Development Fund NGCDF, which they support, a Ward Development Fund, and an increment in the allocation of county funds from 15% to 35%, as well as the creation of the office of the official opposition leader and a super senator position to represent senators' interests, among other amendments. The lobby group will launch the 1 million signature collection drive on Monday at the Bomas of Kenya and has dismissed backing from either Azimio or Kenya Kwanza. Apul Kamau, TV47.
With the Kenya Kwanza government yet to clock 100 days in office, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has denounced claims of a fallout between him and his boss, William Ruto. Speaking in a church service Sunday, the second-in-command defended the head of state of accusations that he had become a puppet of the West in the recent past following his diplomatic forays and partnerships with America and Europe. Micah Gungu with the details.
Barely 3 months into their leadership, the Kenya Kwanza government leaders have come out to defend their relationship with local and international partners. Speaking during a church service at Sitam Karen in Nairobi Sunday, the second-in-command assured Kenyans that he and Ruto were still close buddies and were determined to deliver to the Kenyan people.
Now that you are succeeding and the world has accepted you and accepted your leadership, and they are responding to your various engagements, that William Ruto is a puppet of the West. We have told them, President William Ruto has the exclusive mandate from the people of Kenya to engage the West, the East, the North, the South, and anybody who means well for this great country.
Gachagua accused the opposition of discrediting their partnership, consequently asking Kenyans to ignore reports making rounds that the two top officials were reading from different scripts.
We want to ask the people of Kenya to ignore such. The Ruto administration is solid, it is focused on service delivery, and will not be distracted by propaganda, by innuendos, and things that do not make sense before the people of this country.
This was after reports circulated that the president had disagreed with his deputy over top state appointments at the State House. Gachagua has also asked his boss William Ruto to be alert because his distractors had not given up and had now regrouped to fight his administration. President William Ruto said his government is focused on service delivery and will not be distracted by those in the opposition.
Set a new record for ourselves that we have come of age. Our democracy is now mature, that we can go to elections, vote, go back to work, and wait for the results of the election in a peaceful, tranquil manner. Again, we thank God for giving us a peaceful election in our country.
The head of state intimated that his government will not lock out the opposition from state affairs, but will allow them to perform their oversight role.
But you know, this is, everybody is doing their job, I think. I think the opposition is doing their job. The executive we will do our job. The judiciary will do their job. But as the Bible says, all works well for the good of those who trust in Jesus. I am sure that all these will work well.
Ruto said he will build the foundation of the country around things that matter and won't leave any region or community behind. Mike, GOtv 47, Nairobi.
And as the four commissioners from the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission await their fate on 4 petitions seeking to oust them, Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party leader Raila Odinga has announced a series of mega rallies in major towns to defend the 4, even as Kenya Kwanza leaders put him on notice. Collins Lusweti with more on that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Days after Raila Odinga announced that Azimio la Umoja will stage a pushback against the Kenya Kwanza regime for allegedly returning the country to dark days following the ongoing process to oust the 4 dissenting IEBC commissioners, the ODM leader is now back at it, calling for a mega rally this Wednesday at Kamkunji grounds in Nairobi, in what he says will be a forum for members of the public to have their say on whether the 4 commissioners should be sent back in.
This is not acceptable. And therefore we have said we are going to consult widely with the people of Kenya. We will begin in Nairobi on Wednesday. We will have a meeting with the people of Nairobi at Kamkunji grounds to ask them if they accept that these commissioners should go home.
The 4 led by Vice Chair Juliana Cherera, Commissioners Irene Masit, Francis Wanderi, and Justice Nyang'aya are expected to appear before the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee of the National Assembly starting tomorrow, following 4 petitions seeking to remove them from office after the 4 rejected the hotly contested August 9th presidential election, in which IEBC Chair Wafula Chebukati declared President William Ruto the winner. Raila Odinga, however, maintains the entire process to oust the 4 is politically motivated.
As you know that this regime, which came into power through the rigging of the elections, is now hell-bent in trying to send home the commissioners who stood firm on the platform of the truth. And we have said that this is not going to be acceptable. The people of Kenya will not accept it.
But in a quick rebuttal, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has told off the Azimio leader on the matter, sending a strong warning about plans to hold street demonstrations.
Same people are asking the people of Kenya to go back to the streets because Parliament is doing its work and is an independent institution. If they want the people of Kenya to go to the streets, they must lead by example. Because these people who want our children to go to the streets have organized and arranged for their children to go and serve in the East African Legislative Assembly in Arusha. So we are asking them, if you want street protests, it is okay. But for them to take place, let your daughter come from Arusha, let your son come from Arusha, and physically lead the demonstrations, and the rest of Kenyans can follow.
The Azimio leader says the rallies will be held in major towns across the country, starting with Nairobi.
We will then do the same thing in Mombasa. We'll do the same thing in Nakuru. We'll do the same thing in Kisumu. Do the same thing in Kakamega.
The country now waits to see what will aspire in the rallies called by Raila Odinga. Collins Lusweti, TV47, Nairobi.
All right, Class 8 and Grade 6 students will begin writing their KCP and KPSEA examinations today. Over 2.5 million candidates have registered to sit for the two examinations. Meanwhile, in parts of Baringo County, examination centers have been merged after bandits destroy infrastructure in some schools.
The examination season is here. And this time, as opposed to two national examinations that Kenyans are used to, there shall be a third examination that grade 6 learners will be writing. The over 1.28 million candidates registered for the Kenya Primary School Education Assessment KPSEA brings the total number of candidates this year to over 3.4 million. On Monday, KCPE and KPSEA candidates will begin writing their exam. But in Baringo County, there is a special arrangement for candidates after bandits destroyed infrastructure in some of the schools.
Na tumekusanyika mahali pale kwa sababu mashule zetu kama Kabindasum na Harabal, hata na Kasiala licha kuwa imefunguliwa, ni kwamba vifaa vya shule viliharibiwa na wakora. They were vandalized. And so the infrastructure requires a lot of rehabilitation. And also provision of desks, provision of office furniture, repairs of roofs and walls, repair of toilets. Those some toilets, we'll have to construct new ones. Imebomoka yote.
Chemorongyon is hosting other pupils from almost 6 schools due to banditry. Psychologically, they have been affected by this banditry. And we saw it good as a team of leadership from national, from county. Politicians also, we came together to pray with them and to encourage them as they start these exams.
Schools affected in the merger are Arabal, Chebinyin, Kapindasum, Kasiala and Chemorongyon. Sharon Baranga, TV47.
All right, and in relation to Martha's examinations, we'll be crossing over to Nakuru County, where our reporter Chichi Josephine is on standby as well. She loops in the process of spearheading of the opening of examination papers by Honorable the CS for Martha's lands, that is Zakaria Njeru. Shortly, we'll be looking at that. But away from it, leaders from Laikipia County have called on the youth in the area to end banditry and other criminal offences being committed in the region on a day-to-day basis. According to Laikipia Governor Joshua Irungu, the area has been dragging behind other counties in terms of development due to high tension in the area, which keeps off all investors and players in the business sector. The story was produced by Andrew Juma.
Speaking in Olmoran Ward, Laikipia County, Laikipia North Member of Parliament Sarah Korere promised that she will not sleep on the job. She reminds the government to provide solutions to the banditry attacks in the region.
Maneno ya usalama ya Laikipia ni aibu sana, kwamba watu wetu watakuwa wanalia kila siku, hawajaiba shamba ya mtu, hawajaiba ng'ombe ya mtu, wanaangaishwa na watu kutoka mbali. And I want to tell you, kuna mzee aliongea hapa, hata kama nimesema sijui Kikuyu uwezi ni sengenya. Amesema watu wa Olmoran wakisukumwa Sipili mutahama hapa. So if Olmoran is not safe, Supili will not be safe.
Laikipia Governor Joshua Irungu insisted on unity within the region, saying that his government, in collaboration with the national government, will ensure that Laikipia County is peaceful and all criminal activities are eliminated.
Kwa hivyo hiyo ni jukumu moja tunataka kumhakikishia watu wetu. Tutamshunga na ile serikali tuko naye ikiongozwa na Dr. William Samoei Ruto amehakikishia nyinyi ya kwamba mtapata amani. Atafanya juu chini, na ndio akaagiza Profesa Kidiki Kithure aangalie na macho yote ya kwamba Laikipia County ni lazima walale wapate amani, na hii mambo ya vita kidogo hiyo akasema ni lazima ikome.
According to Governor Irungu, Laikipia County has for a long time been dragging behind other counties in terms of development due to tension caused by severe attacks by the bandits. The county has for the longest time been a field of battles between residents, bandits and security officers, with area leaders condemning the vice and asking the youth to focus and seek a better future instead of violence.
Mimi nilikuwa nataka kuuliza ofisi ya governor pamoja na provincial administration tukuwe na distribution mzuri ili tuweze kulinda watu wetu, tupate usalama na tuweze kuishi namna inavyofaa.
Yes, and as earlier mentioned, we cross over to Nakuru County. Chichi Josephine on standby with more on what is happening, this very important process of getting sure that our students are set for the examination. Chichi Josephine, if you can hear me.
Yeah, thank you very much, Linda. And we are indeed coming live to you from the County Commissioner's office here in Nakuru County. Remember, it has just begun the official opening of the container with the examinations, or the national examinations has officially been opened by the CES for Lands, that is Zachary Njiru. And therefore, without further ado, I'll be engaging him just to know more about the opening and rather about the dispatchment of the national examinations. Remember, it is the KPSEA and the KCPE. And therefore, Linda, without further ado, allow me engage him and get to know more about this. Thank you very much, CS, for talking to TV47. We are live on air. Kindly, you have overseen the official opening of the container with the KPSEA and KCPE examinations. How has been the process so far, and how many have been dispatched?
The process has been very well. We were here early enough for the container was opened at exactly 6 a.m. and all the exams were contact. And now what's happening now, we are distributing the exams to various centers, and we've cautioned the center's manager to make sure that no malpractices are done, and the security team is well aware, and we know our students are well prepared and they're going to perform well. Thank you.
You probably can make us clear too, at what very did you open, or rather do the official opening of the container?
It was at exactly 6 a.m. The writing of the exams will start from 8 a.m. and we are all set for that exercise. Yes.
To how many schools have they been dispatched to?
Well, I don't know exactly the number, but the ones I gave out there were 12, and I believe the exercise is still going on. Yes.
And CS, what would you really say about the whole process and how it has appeared? How many, or rather the schools that have appeared here just to pick the examinations, how would you describe the whole process?
The whole exercise is perfect. The head teachers are well prepared, and as a government we are prepared to make sure that these exams go on well in the whole country, and we are wishing our candidates all the best, and the parents telling them not to panic. We know they are going to perform well. Yes.
In regards to security, how is the security pertaining?
Perfect security. As you can see, the security is well prepared, and we've cautioned those who might think of engaging in malpractices that strict disciplinary actions will be taken to those who will try that. Yes.
Thank you very much, CS, for your time. Therefore, Linda, remember that is the CS for Lands, that is Zakarika Njeru, who was overseeing the whole process of opening, or rather officially opening of the container. Remember, the KPSEA examinations and the KCPE examinations are taking place today. And therefore, just to give you a detailed data of how many candidates will be sitting for these particular examinations, is that KPSEA has 1,087 centers here in Nakuru County, whereas a total of 59,795 candidates will be sitting for these particular examinations. And therefore, in the KCPE position, we have 1,030 centers here in Nakuru County, whereas we have 57,816 candidates sitting for this particular KCPE. And therefore, we'll also be opening, or rather on Friday, there will be the opening of the KCSE examinations. Remember, we have 497 centers in Nakuru County, where 47,664 candidates will be sitting for the KCSE examinations. And therefore, to give you details on the security matters, is that security has been beefed up. Of course, different head teachers have been here getting their papers, or rather the national examinations papers being dispatched to their particular secondary schools, or rather the primary schools. Therefore, Linda, just to keep you posted, is that I will be right here in Nakuru County. I'll keep you posted to what will be going on in different schools. I will be traversing to different schools here in Nakuru County, and I will keep you posted, or rather keep our viewers posted to what will be currently happening in this particular county. Over to you, Linda. My name is Chichi Josephine.
How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga,
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga,
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga,
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga,
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga.
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga.
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated
Honorable Dr. David Ole Sankoki is with us this morning, as well as Kevin Osido, County Governance Watch Executive Director, and equally Dr. Peter Mbai, who's a governance expert. The gentlemen will be joining us for a candid conversation as to so much that is happening in the country and perhaps beyond. Welcome on board once again. The hashtag is Morning Cafe at Linda_Lela TV47KE. We definitely value your feedback, and therefore I'll be looking to sample some of this that you speak of as we get into this very conversations. And gentlemen, karibuni sana. Kevin Osido, were with you last week? No? Last week you're not here. Why are you? Monday.
Last week I was not in Kenya.
Did you have to?
Did you?
No, right?
Yeah.
It is the Luo.
Sasa daktari anasikia mbaya kwa siku around.
Even you could have just said last week I was not here.
Where we were with him in his store is Kenya. Is in Kenya?
It was last week.
Yes, that's where we were with him. No, I'm wondering.
Lakini tulikuwa kwa boda mheshimiwa.
So equally daktari
Nilienda kula pesa yetu.
Kula pesa wakamaliza ndio nawauliza hapo.
We are going to do serious issues on governance of this country.
Niliona hata waziri wa
together with him there. Tulikuwa huko kuangalia mambo ya peace. You know, and how
national security management.
Ukifika border you are out of the country.
Ama you I'm not together there. I'm on that one.
Hata siku nakwambia tuonane baadaye Gwaheri.
Ama kwa sababu network huko ni mbaya.
Gwaheri Nairobi. I know, and at least when you call him unasikia ikilia different tone. Anyway, sawa.
Naona daktari.
That is the bad thing of lying when you have people you work with around. Daktari, how are you?
Oh, but it was fine.
It was fine.
Well, yes, we were working on some issues about peace. You know, these issues of banditry and all that, needs a lot of measures.
That's true.
One is preventive. The other one, you have to talk, dialogue, but also you must be ready as government.
Yes.
If the matters become too much, you have to work what you must do. Because again, Kenyans cannot keep on dying.
Right.
And so we were working on something just to do on issues to add value, issues to do with the conflict prevention, issues to do with the governance. And we believe, let me tell you, northern Kenya is part of Kenya.
It is. 100%.
All that area, like Kipia, Samburu, all those Turkana, Baringo, we love peace. And that's what we must do in this country. And, and remember, we call it peace and conflict.
Yes.
You start with peace.
You
talk, negotiate, and you hear what the president has. Actually, like twice.
Yeah.
Although he was provocated, the time he spoke about it in Turkana, you know, they fight back.
Right.
Baringo, he said again, and he's a father. You know what I'm saying? Guys, just calm down, drop the arms, let's work. Look at Kitui. But then the next thing is, if peace is not heeded, of course you must use force
That's true.
to make sure the majority of people are at peace.
And we
Because
definitely
it's just
hope it doesn't get to
that's
that
it.
level, but that is the way.
Unfortunately, Mheshimiwa is here, and he more or less the Raja community. Before it used to be like sponsored, but it was to be by hugely economic. Some warlords sponsoring the cattle rustling so they can get money. Then it went political, where those people could be used politically. But now, what we are hearing, when these other warlords are like, wow, the regime has changed, this regime is no nonsense about this, but the boys, the issue has taken a life on its own. It's one thing to recruit these young people, but you are not always in control of them. You don't tell them to stop when you want, because they're already used to the money. Right. They're already used to, they don't have something else to do.
Radicalization.
So, exactly. So it's more or less, you hear, it's no longer, they are no longer like there are some guys behind. The whole thing has taken a life on its own. That's why you can wonder, how come the president himself, who comes from the area, goes twice and says, I don't want this. Then that's what we were wondering. And so we need another approach to tell these young boys now, excuse me, please, now things have changed. It's not when you had some guys protecting from Nairobi, some economic people, people who are benefiting from the sale of the cattle and all that kind of politics. It's done. So that's what it's taking a bit of time for them to understand, but very soon they are going to understand that the time has changed. We cannot continue like this.
And perhaps that's one of the things that we speak of this morning. As late as yesterday, of course, we had the governor of Laikipia, speaking to this. And unfortunately, there are spaces where students are supposed to sit for the examinations. But then again, this has been disrupted because of the banditry attacks and the attacks that are there. It is quite unfortunate, even as we speak of the insecurity that is arising in the different spaces and the different towns across the different counties in the country. But before we even delve deep into it, perhaps start by telling Mheshimiwa congratulations and allowing him to say jambo to people. Umepotea sana bwana. Ili siasa ama hii siasa unaingia ndani ya Iyala.
Linda, first of all, thank you very much.
Karibu.
And for having me here.
It's a pleasure.
Also Kenyans in general, and especially members of parliament for electing me as a member to represent this country in Iyala. And so many people, including you, Linda, have been asking me that I had retired from politics.
Yes.
But Kingereza is a bit hard.
Sabbatical. Badala ya kusema ulichukua sabbatical.
Because I said I retired from Kenyan politics, meaning local politics. Now I'm in East African geopolitics.
Whatever it is that you and Kevin have eaten today.
I think I excuse you because
it's okay.
As your lugha yetu, so when you say local versus geopolitics versus Pan-Africanism versus Kenyan politics, East African politics, you may confuse them. Okay. But actually I retired from Kenyan local politics. That is why today you'll have really to ask me about
regional issues,
regional issues, geopolitics, Pan-Africanism, and then my brothers here can now concentrate on local issues.
We will be here. Maybe.
So I really do appreciate the members of parliament. I garnered eventually 233 votes, 223 votes, and getting 223 votes. That means they voted on behalf of their constituents.
Right.
So that means it's a large constituency that have given trust to me to represent them there. And if they have sent me there, some of them were saying that I've become a nonsense in Kenyan politics, so they are deporting me. Others were voting me for their love that they have for me. So all in all, I have now
some order. That is another level, Mheshimiwa. We have watched you in the Kenyan scene, and therefore I would agree to what it is that they say to some extent. So as you are deported, can you represent us well?
Yes, I will, of course. I will represent the country very well. That is a promise I give. Okay. Because one is that I will represent the interests of Kenya, but above it all, the interests of the East African community, which is have 7 member states. I have to study very hard, read the treaty, the East African Community Treaty, deeply. I have also to read the 7 different constitutions of each country,
countries, yes.
Because all the laws that we have to make in East African Legislative Assembly must be in line with all the constitutions, so that we don't end up having some that may not align themselves to the constitution of Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, DRC, Southern Sudan, Kenya, Tanzania, and so on. So I have really to read very hard, consult very widely. We will very soon, all of us, meet the President of the Republic of Kenya. We have already had a meeting with the CS, East African Cooperation, and we will meet with the Deputy President, Honorable Rigathi Gachagua. We'll also meet with Chief CS. We'll also meet with the former Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, hear his views, learn from him. Also meet.
Is there anything to learn from the Right Honorable Raila Odinga? You know, you have always been throwing shade, and proper shade for that matter.
But the former Prime Minister have a wealth of knowledge in terms of...
I am surprised that this is Honorable Sankok.
But it is true.
Like this. It is true. It is true.
Right now, he's
he's a
You are local politics.
Yes.
Mheshimiwa Sankok is a mentee of the former PM.
But you know, if I play you clips that I played early this year.
As rightfully said, that was local politics.
Okay.
And the way politics is
diplomacy
in Kenya.
Right.
I think one thing they say is he who calls the piper
plays the tune.
Plays the tune. That's one. Number two, it depends on what the people feel on the ground. If Kevin Osido, for example, feels that the people might not serve my interests, might not be served very well, including those of the people I represent, when I support Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga and Dr. William Samoei Ruto, the president, has better things that my people resonate with, you go through that path.
Right.
Because if you look at how this gentleman moved from student leadership into elective politics, failed, then nominative politics, and now look at where he is. I think his future is looking very bright. And I think for me, the most important thing is to ask the question, does he represent the people, the persons living with disabilities? Because in his nomination, that is part of the very common values and strengths that was believed that he would bring to the table. And then two, now that he's moved to the regional level, is he going to, as you asked, make noise that is local, or is he going to be as diplomatic as is possibly possible? And I think being a good student that Mheshimiwa Sankok is, he'll be able to play effectively very well. Now, remember that even in the elections, there was a lot of politics because those were party politics. But I think now the most important thing is that their induction has to focus on, one, you're not local representatives of Kenyans.
Right.
You are representing the Republic of Kenya. So whether you are Kenya Kwanza or Azimio la Umoja, you must
rise above that.
Yeah, you must rise above that and look at issues as a people of Kenya. Because even when they vote at Yala, they are not voting as Kenya Kwanza and Azimio and all these others. They are voting as Kenya, and then as a region. And then that competes with many other things, including SADC, COMESA, AU, among several other...
And we're coming to that, and now that he's here, I think it's important that we articulate some more on the question of the regional bodies and their significance in terms of shaping up the polities of Africa. Most of the people that are crying foul across the different parts of the continent argue that the regional bodies really have not done much in terms of us getting the best. East African integration is still a dream. You know, speaking of having a common currency, you know, the question of trade across is still a big dream. Yet we've had representatives day in, day out, year in, year out. What is this different that we expect from your parliament? But even before we expound further on that, allow us to cross over to Kisii County, that is Kisii Central. Alfayo Kombo on standby to update us as well as to how the process of, you know, disseminating examination is taking shape. Alfayo, if you can hear me.
Yes, thank you very much, Linda Leila. I'm getting you very well from this county headquarters where Alan Macharia has just commissioned and is giving out exams, issuing of exams of the KIPSEA and the KCSE exams to the center managers, where he just informed us that we have a total of 19,705 boys sitting for the exams, 18,629 girls, where a total of 36,534 are of KIPSEA. And in the KCP, we have 40,120 students who are sitting for the KCP exams. He has just issued a strong warning for those or anybody who is going to issue any disturbance to the students who are doing exams, and asks those who are matatu drivers, those people passing around the schools that are doing exams, to maintain a silence. And from the area commander of police, he has just said that they have deployed a total of 119 officers, uniformed officers, and several ununiformed officers who will be manning and taking care of the exam centers, so that to make sure that there's a smooth running of exams. In the morning, early in the morning, there were issues of little issues of how to receive exams. The center managers were just confused a little bit because they were taking the KCP exams in back to get the KIPSEA exams. It was something that was a little hectic, but at the moment things are running smooth, and they are waiting to have a runaway and get the exams backed into the buses, and they'll be able to distribute them to the different centers. And he said that this time round they are ready, and they'll be informed, and even asked the people who were the center managers, if you're not sure of what you are to do, you just give a call to the county commissioner or the education officer, so that he may be able to direct you to do the right thing. And we have also been told that there are a lot of some students who have been expected to do the exams from hospital, and in case of any issue or any illness, that will be addressed. It's only yesterday when there was an issue of a student who wanted to hang himself from Nyabikomo, where the student had failed to get his or her name on the paper that when they were doing their rehearsals. So that day he wanted to hang herself, but he was calmed down and he was talked to, and all was well. Today is going to sit for her paper. That's all that I have from this headquarters of Kisii County, where the exams have been disseminated. Maybe I pass back the mantle to you in studio, Linda.
Thank you so much, Alfayo Kombo, for the updates. And because it's morning cafe, the gentlemen are here trying to get coffee.
We are organizing our coffee cafes.
We're sort of having the thermos. I have interesting gentlemen this morning, and yes, away from matters education, which we'll speak to shortly. I think we're talking about Yala, equally on the banditry attacks that we'll get to as we line to the question of education. But regional bodies, Doctor, and you've been here long enough to have witnessed how, the people of Africa have not been so happy as the kind of leadership we have enjoyed. Every single time we speak of, developing Africa and the unfortunate occurrences that have played out, we keep talking of leaders that have not represented as well. The regional bodies, what do you make of them? And even as we celebrate and appreciate the fact that we're sending our own to the East African community to represent us, do you suppose there's anything new that we get?
Thank you so much. And first, much more. For me, I see progression. I see a very nice progression. And we have to mature, even politically, having been picked, for example, by Jubilee as a nominated, you don't want to go back there. If you can progress to something else, and maybe the next time we need to have some some African court or some African parliament, where we can send our best sons and daughters to go and have a voice in some of these like AU. I think they have a court or something, but they don't have yet
African Court of Justice. Yes, is
they
there?
Don't. We need to have also those arms as we move, so that if we can have our best sons and daughters, they can progress from MCA to MP to senator to governor to CS, then move on to serve the country in other areas. Now, there has been many issues about integration. Okay, and by the way, now the terms you will hear these people talking is issues to do with diplomacy, international relations. Those are the kind of terms that you can see. It's already been getting very crowded on that one. And to add on that, for me, I think, and he has explained that very well, it's now a matter of, can we get the best brain in Kenya that can inform us what to go and do? The best brain. Meet even Kalonzo. Meet anybody who has an idea. Kalonzo has been a foreign minister for many years. Meet him. Give views. Mudahura was, I think, the founder of East African. So that we get the best. But now, this is the issue. One, for me, the issue about East Africa, Tanzania. Much as it is a member of EAC, it's still a member of SADC.
SADC, yeah.
So we need to understand what is it that we want. You remember the issue of the relationship or rather of the wearing,
Yes.
where they said we are moving together. Now what is that? Can we first go back and say, who are we? Do we have reason enough to be one? Do we have reason enough to be East Africa, right? We are happy that others are still joining, right? But now, for me, the most important thing is about the economic blocks. Because what will matter mostly, before we come to political, to political federation and political things, let's talk about economic trade and economic freedom. Okay? The former president of Ghana spoke about, first of all, pursue the political, and others will come. For me, I say, first of all, pursue economic.
Yeah.
Political will come.
Don't you think that politics is basically what runs everything, economy and all that, that it's the bloodline of technically everything? And so if you get your politics right, and I think that has been the greatest undoing of the people of Africa, that we have not gotten our politics right, that if we get that right, get the right leadership, then they'll streamline.
Linda, from my small or whatever of political diplomacy, especially between regions, once people begin thinking they can benefit from you, when they begin seeing trucks openly going to Uganda and Rwanda and Tanzania, people begin thinking, wow. Remember, all along, there has been an issue with Tanzania and Kenya on the issue of trade. Suddenly, for the last 3 years, because of the president relaxing, saying, it's okay, you guys can trade. Today, we have more trade. Tanzanians are trading more in Kenya. You see, that one will make them feel comfortable. Finally, they will say, wow, if you are this comfortable, we can do currency. But if you begin with because of power, you begin with the politics, Linda, you scare away everybody.
Is it?
You scare away everybody. Today, let DRC come. Let them begin seeing, let Tanzania begin saying, wow, we are benefiting more from DRC than South Africa, than Botswana. They'll begin saying, wow, we need EAC more than SADC. So once it begins there for my thinking. So the issue is can ECOWAS work? Can this East African, can this free movement of goods work? Yes. Can it work? That's why we are sending these guys to go and make it work. Can we be together? Can we reduce those small things? And I want to repeat what you said there much more. When you go there, tell all these people, please, can we reduce the internal, let it be solved by people there. Can you talk about how are we good? Remember the market. If you look at the market of East Africa, it's about right now almost 150 million to 200 million. If we can sell our goods within East Africa, I can tell you all these other blocks, SADC, ECO, the other one from West Africa, they will not beat us. Can we, first of all, trade is everything? Because trade will give you bread today. Trade will give you food today.
So is it the economy, then the politics, or the politics, then the economy, or what comes first? And I'll be coming to that argument of let us get the best brains to advise us. We have had Kalonzo Jr. in Yala before, lucky enough to go back.
For institutional memory.
Under the guidance of Kalonzo Sr. And we seek to ask ourselves, have we seen anything instrumental? Because one person, one individual is capable of bringing change that is noticeable. And so even before we speak to that, because I know you can't, you will be representing the people of Kenya together with him, I'll allow Kevin to do that. But then on the question of whether it's politics or economy first, which one?
Linda, the East African Community Treaty had 4 pillars. One of them is the political federation, monetary union, the custom union, and the common market. Yes? And then, of course, with the issue of the common market, we have advanced so much because at the moment, you know how we are trading across our borders and across the 7 countries. When you talk about custom union, you already see a single passport, the East African passport, yes, which you can use to go across and for free movement of people across the border and free movement of services. Free movement of goods have been brought by the custom union. And then in this parliament that will start very soon, we will be concentrating on the monetary union. The monetary union is having probably a single currency so that we can, the philosophy is that we have to strengthen, deepen and widen the integration.
Yes.
So strengthening means you also have to have a stronger currency. Because, Linda, it's unfortunate that if today you go to Rwanda, you have to exchange the Kenyan shillings to the dollar.
To the dollar, yes.
At a fee. And then once you are in Rwanda, you have again to change the dollar, the US dollar, to Rwanda shillings at a fee. So at the end of the day, we end up, even these traders we trade across, we end up losing a lot of money. In fact, sometimes even Masai Mara, Game Reserve, there are some hotels that they will say they will accept dollars. So you have to change our Kenyan shillings to the dollars to pay for that hotel at a fee. And then again, the hoteliers will have to buy commodities from local wananchi. So they have to change again.
From the dollar.
From the dollar. In that process of buying and selling, we lose billions of shillings. And, you know, if we trade within, as my brother have said, Daktari, is that we have a market. By the way, the market is 300 million residents. Yes? We have a landmass of 1.2 billion acres, you know, that we have to take care of. So the trade within ourselves will be easier if we have a single currency, so that you don't have to lose that exchange fee. You know, Americans have been surviving, not because they are selling any oil, not because they are selling any gold or any underground resources. They are selling that paper called the US dollar. Yes? Because for you to purchase anything from China, change your Kenya shillings into US dollars. And then go there, change into whatever currency they are using in China. And then you lose a lot of money, because the exchange rate, what you bought the dollar with, is not what you will sell the dollar with. So you lose a lot of money. So ours will be to try and go now into monetary union, in which we'll have a single currency. Once we have a single currency, our economic bloc will be a financial powerhouse.
You know, this is not news to our ears, and some of us who've been following up on Pan-African matters can attest to the fact that it's a conversation that has been there, let alone at the level of the East African community, at the African Union. And we have seen countries that have shown the goodwill. We have seen others that have backed off from even that free trade. Nigeria categorically decided that they are not going to attend a very important,
but Linda,
conference.
you know, that's why I explained that we started with custom union, which to some extent have succeeded. No, we should always not be negative.
Be positive.
Yes, we must be positive. Because with that custom union, we have advanced. The way we used to trade with Tanzania 10 years ago is not the same way we are trading now. The free movement of goods, the free movement of people and services across our borders have become easier. So we have, to some extent, I can say that it is almost 70% achievement of the custom union. For the political federation is where we are at almost 0%. Yes? But you cannot start by 100%. You start from somewhere. And we have implemented the 2 pillars. The custom union, and the other one is the
common market.
Common market.
Common markets.
Yes, that the common market have been achieved, because when you talk of custom union, it is free movement of people. When you talk of the common market, it is free movement of goods and services. And that one we have achieved. So we are remaining with 2. And IALA is not as old as the Kenyan Parliament. IALA is the fourth one. Yes. So we have only been having 3 before, which they have achieved 2 pillars. Of course, the 4th one may achieve the monetary pillar and probably extend to the political federation. And then we are done. And then who knows? We may achieve the dreams of our Pan-African forefathers of having a single currency, having a single army that will protect our sovereignty and our natural resources, and even have the United States of Africa.
All right.
Who knows?
And I mean, we have seen how the the European Union has done so well,
yes.
And the ease that is there across the different countries. And of course, we're looking forward to have, like you rightfully put it, an African Union that indeed would be great in terms of us benefiting some, of this. But yes, let's speak of the faces that have been there. The Kalonzo Jr., who's been there, going in for the second time, and how we can tap into the wisdom of the forefathers, the wisdom of those ones that have done well before these young ones that are joining in Yala. I mean, just what can they pick from them that would be instrumental for change? Or should we say, that is old script, perhaps let's come up with something new?
That's a very, very important question. And it has to be remembered that how you get to Yala is through a nomination.
Yes.
And it has to be your political party nominating you. Now, the challenge many times is that the common person has almost zero responsibility, other than, of course, either being a member of a political party, which also rests many times in our country at a certain level. And that level is the level of elections. So it also depends on how much energy, strength, value that you add, and of course, the commitment that you put into your political party that will be able to excite the leadership and the wider membership of the party to consider you as somebody who really deserves to be nominated, so as a nominee into Yala. It's quite different from our Kenyan constitution, where even as an independent candidate, you can actually run for any elective office. Now, that therefore presents the mechanism within which you become a member of Yala.
Yeah.
And so if you look at the names that have been there from the first parliament to the second to the third, and now as we head to the fourth, I think the most important concern is what have they achieved? And that we already discussed in the first question. But then how do we therefore motivate those who have been there, like you are mentioning Kalonzo Jr.
Linda, I may not want to interrupt him, but I want to set some records straight. Representation in Yala is an elective position. And that one must be very clear. And just as the Kenyan election is just the same. Because during election in a constituency or in a county, you have to be nominated by a political party, given a political party ticket. And the nomination process of getting that political party ticket is either through interviews, through consensus, or through party primaries, isn't it?
Yes.
Now for representation of Yala, it's the same. That political parties nominate, and they nominate a certain number of representation. And then an election is held in parliament, where parliamentarians, the bicameral parliament, the Senate and the National Assembly, elect the representative to go to Yala on behalf of their constituents. So it is an election process. It's not a nomination process.
Yes.
So if Kalonzo Jr.
was elected,
or Winnie Odinga was nominated wrongly by a political party, then they would not have won the election in the floor of the House. Yes? It's just like when you are nominated by a political party and your opponent decide to go with an independent ticket, and he may defeat you in a general election. Also in the election of Yala members in parliament, there are those who are independent candidates. There is that provision. So it is just an election like any other. So those who have been elected are elected by the people through their representatives. So it's a...
You will make my conversation this morning very difficult, Honorable Sankok. Just briefly, so that he winds it up and then we come to you.
So we're actually saying the same thing, because I say that is a political party that nominates you. Chances that an independent candidate will win an Yala seat in Kenyan politics is almost limited. And we have not seen any independents other than, of course, post-2010. We have not seen a single independent candidate transcend into...
Jollof out of 290.
Into Yala, exactly.
Like Jollof out of 290.
So it is based on the trust that the political party has on you, the value that you add. And we saw people like Mheshimiwa Sankok campaigning at both Parliament, National Assembly, and also at the Senate. But what I am saying is, you can do all your campaigns, but it depends on the political party leadership.
Largely.
Yeah. What value have you added to ODM, to Jubilee, to Kenya Kwanza, to UDA, and all that? If the value add is zero, my friend, you can campaign all you want, including bringing all those choppers into Bungi. You will not be elected. And we have seen even from the statistics, there's a reason why I got 233 plus votes.
Yeah.
There is some value and some meaning that the people of Kenya Kwanza saw in him. And they said, we believe that Mheshimiwa Sankok will be able to provide this.
Right.
Now, the biggest concern is, how do you therefore continue that conversation when you become an EALA elected member? I think that is where we have not done very well as a people or as elected members of EALA. And that's partly because of where we started, where we already said, for example, Mheshimiwa Sankok says we have regional and local politics. So there is almost a very clear disconnect between the regional politics and the regional politicians and the local national politics. So we must therefore see how we integrate the visions of the political party that made you become an EALA member representing Kenya, and how whatever you are doing at the regional parliament adds value to the needs of the people. Alinda, that link is almost very minimal, because if you look at those 4 pillars, for instance, why would somebody in Turkana or in Siaya, where I come from, want to have one currency? You know, those are discussions that you don't see people getting involved in.
Just how possible.
The moment I have enough thousands of Kenya shillings in my pocket, I'm okay. But then it excites people who are organized properly through, for example, civil society at the regional level. So you have issues like East African Civil Society Convention, East African Women Group Network that is based in Uganda, Levi Mwanaasa Center that is organizing people in democratic, conventions. Unless you are a member of those networks, where those discussions are also very high level, because there is where you meet the members, you meet the speakers, for example, of EALA, and those conversations are not very, very, very localized. You know, here we are dealing with availability of food on the table. But here you are talking about one passport for Kenyans, you know, and Tanzanians and Ugandans and all the other countries. So it will be difficult to provide indicators that would want to judge whether they've performed very well locally despite the representation at the national, at the regional level. But then as I finish this, also to look at issues of how then do we disseminate or communicate regional aspirations and visions locally? How do we break them down? Which is probably one of the things that EALA needs to pick up in terms of, if we are representatives, how do we therefore communicate these very high level visions to the common citizens and make them understand, for example, why Kenyans would require a visa to go to South Africa, despite a few weeks ago when the president, Cyril Ramaphosa, was here, and for many years, Tanzanians, who are also members of EAC, are also members of SADC, and they don't require a visa to go to South Africa, you see. And so those are conversations that, if we can be able to find proper mechanisms of breaking them to the common citizen, then they will see the value even of participating in EALA. And if you, for example, go to, as we head to Christmas, chances that Mheshimiwa Sankok's voters will go to him as opposed to their governor are very minimal for something, because the moment you go to EALA and you stop playing,
you're as good as
you're as good as
out of this country.
We don't see you doing local politics. When bandits are fighting us, you don't show up, you know. So if we can be able to slim the challenge of bringing down those very high level policy and legislative conversations to a level where citizens understand them. And then lastly is the trust issues. Because even as we have...
almost wondering why
it will come in. Even as we talk about one people, one union, one money, one common market.
There's no trust.
Trust issues. Kenyans must be able to be trusted by Tanzanians. Rwandese must be able to trust their Burundian friends and brothers and relatives. Ugandans must be able to consider Kenyans as people who can speak where other people are speaking, and all the other countries.
And might not, they shouldn't feel intimidated.
No one should feel inferior or superior, because I think that even at the EALA level, those are some of the challenges that the parliamentarians there are facing, which is partly why it will be very difficult to say Mheshimiwa Kalonzo Jr. performed, Mheshimiwa Winnie Odinga will perform. Because all these issues, including intergenerational concerns, we might have a very young team being sent to Yala from Kenya, but when you look at the team that comes from South Sudan, for example, the team that is going to come from Uganda, you stand there and you're like, yes, my son. So the moment an MP, a Kenyan MP is called my son or my daughter, you almost feel like, what kind of conversation are we going to be having here? So I think there's a lot that we can be able to learn and do in terms of adding value to the processes of Yala and all the other regional economic bodies.
Well put, as we sum it up on that.
Yeah, I think we need to, first I want to say we are confident as Kenyans so far by the process. We appreciate and support those who have been elected. Wish you the best.
That is not what we see with the president. That is not what we see with his deputy, at least going by their utterances as late as yesterday, when Honorable Rigathi Gachagua speaks of, when he wants to castigate Right Honorable Raila Odinga's, position of saying that we're going to hold Kamkunjis across, we're going to hold people assemblies to get the view of whether we should root out these IEBC officials, the Cherera 4. And he counters that back by saying, you know what, you cannot bring us your daughter to take to Yala, and we have done that successfully. And then you want the daughters and sons of other Kenyans to be, like, literally they don't seem to be happy.
I want to come there. I want to come there. I like you in that.
And I'm throwing it to you because Sankok will not speak.
Yeah, he will not.
And I was hoping that he would, yes.
One, first of all, quickly, very quickly, from Kenyan, where we sit right now, before you go to the other issue, we send you very well to represent us. The only problem is, yes, for the last 3 terms, the feeling, it has not been felt. East African story is just the minister we know, and then we hear the Ziara. This time round, it's good to be positive and looking forward. We are very hopeful. Sankok, do whatever you can do. We have seen you, even using whatever, and throwing them up, crutches, and trying to, can you use all matters possible to make sure this time round, East African is on the ground.
But
that's what we are saying.
That is not diplomatic.
No, hold on. No, I'm just saying he knows how to balance it. All what I'm saying, all what I'm saying.
Your crutches diplomatically.
So what you are saying, we are very hopeful this time. The team we are sending, we wanted you to make it so lucrative, so the next person who wants to grow can have ambitions and saying, I would also wish to go to East Africa. That's number one. But number two, this is my advice. Look, you remember Professor Nyingoro, he taught us political science at the University of Nairobi, and he said this very clearly. He taught us international relations and diplomacy. Please, always be very careful on matters that can trigger internal issues of a country.
Okay.
Please, you have done well on customs union, the issues of free movement of goods. Try to do what is possible. You touch politics very fast, you are done with East Africa. Because our political formations are not the same.
But we have to. The reason why we have to move.
I'm just saying, can we do something called quick wins? Please, that's what I'm saying. Right. Because we have had 3 terms. Can they go and do what we can say? This one, we have achieved this. Now, currency is very good. I agree. But please, once the people begin feeling the why the currency, what is trying to
answer.
If first of all you feel that you can take your carrots to Uganda, then you begin thinking, I've been taking my carrots, but the issue of exchange is too much. Then you see the need.
Right.
Kindly, it's all about the process. If Sankok you want 5 years later to come and say, wow, and one thing I'm very sure, he has spoken to that on, which I like, public information,
very
public
important.
communication. It's not to say that now, because you are Yara, you are done. No, you have to come back, go on televisions and newspapers and talk about Yara. Talk about East Africa. Tell us in your language. Tell us what we can hear. The reason what has happened in the last 3 terms, they disappear. You would not see them talking passionately about issues that are happening. So people don't know. People have no idea. The biggest problem hindrance about East African integration is the lack of public information and communication. Now, Linda, allow me, please. You know, the connection. What happens yesterday was now another story about where there is the issue of rallies and Maandamano. Linda, right? There's the issue of Maandamano rallies. And so the context was different. The context was not to say, the deputy president was not saying that Winnie and Kalonzo Jr. should not be in Yara.
Okay.
What he was saying is another story.
Okay.
The context was completely different. Okay. That now, if we are here now, we are talking about Maandamano. can now all of us recruit our sons? So that's another story.
Okay.
He never meant to say that Winnie and Kalonzo should not be in Gara.
But even before it got to the level of the House for the elections, we saw how that was highly castigated. If I can translate that to Swahili, you know, when they ask, unatuletea watoto wako, unatuletea watoto wenyu, why can't you just...
That's a good one.
That's a good question.
Linda, let me say this from a perspective of governance, because I love being, you know, being loyal to the principles of governance. Yes. That's what is important, by the way. Right. Because if you want to go very far, do every case, you see the same principles. That way we are going to go. For me, it's about strengthening systems and structures of governance. That one we are going to go very far. In another 5-10 years, if we get it right, you know, the way we are...
It will not matter who is taking
I love this issue about governance and putting things straight. Now, look, we are saying this. Everybody has a right. Look at the treaty. Remember, we are not picking EALA members based on any constitution or anything here. It is something that was done at East African level, where it was said that the laws that this is how we are going to pick. The way the Constitution of Kenya says, this is how you are going to pick a member of parliament, through IBC, whatever, the qualification and all that. This one says it is a party in the respective countries that will nominate. Upon nomination, they will be elected. That is not our thing. Remember here. So we are saying here, again, respecting structures. It was all in order for if the Wiper party met and said, last time we had Kalonzo Jr. and we are going to have Kalonzo Jr. again. It is strictly up to the Wiper party.
Okay.
Strictly. That is the best way to go. That is how it should go. If they feel they want to give a second time so that you can learn more and all those issues, please, we want to be very respectful to the institutions.
All right.
Let them be. Last time it was Oburu Odinga. And they felt this time it's Winnie. Because maybe they felt Laila has done so much to the party and somehow or less he's not been able to benefit much. Well, directly, like he was not elected. And they felt there's no harm in one family member also being in the political sphere. I mean, that is entirely to them. And I want to say this. For me, where I sit, we need to respect that. Okay. We need to respect. And so, when the president was saying all that, it was not in bad faith. It was just to say, okay, huyo ndio mmeona. Now wakasema, no, it was a question. No, it was a question. Waliuliza aje? Hiyo ndio mumeona, wakasema ndio tumeona. And the story ikaisha. And by the way, for record, no.
We have to take a short break. We have to take a very quick short break.
They were elected by even Kenya Kwanza MPs.
Yes, they were.
Yes, they were.
We should celebrate Maina Karobi. I think you've met Maina Karobi. We need to celebrate Maina Karobi. Let's take a short break, Mushi.
Yes, but there is some misinformation here. Because it is not nomination by the political party.
Okay.
Because 27 names are given.
Yes.
So if they did not won, Winnie Odinga, they will have elected the other person.
And so the most important process is at the level of the election. At the National Assembly. All right, we take a short break and then we come back to that. And Senate as well. Yeah. Okay.
How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga.
and music bands. Every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga.
and music bands. Every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga.
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga.
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga.
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga.
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji will carry the institutional memory and probably performed very well. And the last thing is the issue of Mamboga not understanding the issue of a single currency, the issue of the passport. My brother, you know, there are politics that will be dealt with by the MCA. There are politics that will be dealt with by the member of parliament. Yes. And then there is a level of politics that will be played by the governor. And then the president will play some level of politics.
And let the diplomats play this.
Yes, for us, we'll explain the issue of regional politics, simple currency. And then
now the question is to
yes,
to the people.
Listen.
I think that's a problem.
I will explain to my constituents, those who elected me, and that is the members of Parliament. And then they will go and get it.
You see, Linda,
down. You know, at the end of the day, when that Mamamboga, because more than half of our counties are border counties. When that Mamamboga can easily sell the mboga across the border from Bungoma, from Busia to Uganda, from Marsabit to Ethiopia, from Maasai Land to Tanzania.
Yes.
Colleagues Maasais in Tanzania. Then they will understand. And then they will ask their member of parliament.
Yeah.
And then the member of parliament will come and ask me, because usually...
Can we close this one?
What does the structure say? Are you supposed, when and how, are you supposed then to come back and meet members of parliament in a session and
communicate this?
Is there anything like that?
Yes. Let me tell him. Is there a session that members of parliament have a mini parliament with the electorate?
With the electorate?
A lot.
If it
every weekend.
Even
every Sunday, every weekend.
They will always...
members of parliament.
Okay.
Those are my electorate.
Okay.
They will ask me questions. And when they ask me the way...
It doesn't matter where, when, wow.
You a member of parliament. A lot of questions in a very informal way. Okay. Because there is no formal way that you ask them. So
let's be objective and perhaps yes.
I think Mheshimiwa should not be defensive on this issue because it is a big challenge.
Yes.
And I have engaged in EAC matters at the level of the East African Society Forum and many other forums or fora. Yeah. When there is a big thing happening. Now, those big things that are happening are very high level. That the common person we are calling Mama Mboga here are not even
aware.
Is neither aware nor is even in example, visiting country is coming to Kenya. That's when you see a lot of activity, including even IALA members now being given a front seat to want to come and brief the president what is happening and all that. But what we are saying is that the IALA representative, because I'll tell you for free, Mheshimiwa, there is no time your governor or the MPs from within your party or your constituency will go to the Mwananchi to talk about serious concerns.
They have not even... Mheshimiwa, he acknowledges that he has to do a lot of study.
Himself. Yes. He has to go and study.
So why would an MCA for West Oyoma want to go and read the Tanzanian constitution?
Yeah.
Yet he has people bothering him every single day over school.
You'll be my consultant.
Fine.
Please.
I'll give you my, you're my number.
You are giving jobs and I am here.
No, those are not jokes. Those are not jokes. Well, Linda, those are not jokes. That is why I started for jobs. Oh, jobs. Oh, I thought you were saying jokes.
No, you were going to get communication.
I am talking about jobs.
No, communication. Yeah, exactly. Communication and governance.
So what we need to
consultancy
do,
basis.
because what the EAC, what IALA will do, the East African Legislative Assembly will do, is to provide instruments of governance and leadership through treaties, constitutional reviews, policies that are then done by the different states through their cabinet secretaries or ministers. And we know, even through very many other examples, that a lot of times it's just boardroom conversations. What we are asking Mheshimiwa, I accept with humility to be your consultant.
Pro bono.
Fine.
No,
for 2 years, pro bono. Yes, as we graduate, yes. We will break down those instruments, the policies, so do briefs. When you are coming, because you are going to be living in Arusha, but you will be coming back to Kenya, isn't it? Yeah. When you are coming back, ask the secretariat to print those briefs for you. Then as you go to a church on a Sunday, you tell the ushers through the church leadership, please, petition hizi pia watu wasome. Because you will be asked to come and speak to people in front of the church. Oh, mimi ni Mheshimiwa Sankok, si mnanijua? And then let them now understand that you are no longer playing local, you are regional, but there is a very clear connection between the regional and the local, and how it therefore changes and affects the life.
And when you come back, you can always be coming on media, talk about those.
That's why I'm here.
And also, even have newspaper columns. Every time to say, to move with the people for what is it about this. Yeah, so we are adding value.
That is working.
So you see, I'm learning now.
Yes.
Very good advice, my brother.
Thank me for that.
Yes,
I mean,
but you not run away from that thing of problem. Not like him a researcher.
2 years down.
No.
2 years down.
Every ER member is committed to a researcher. You get a researcher this from
and we will consult him 2 years later to also know how we
But I'm consulting widely, even Kalonzo Musyoka, Senior, the Right Honorable Raila Odinga. I started by telling you, we have planned with the 9 IALA members that we will visit all of them. We'll start with the president. We have already started with the Minister of East African Community. We will also go to the president, hear what he have to say. He will give us his direction. We'll go to the Deputy President. We'll go to Chief CS. We'll go to Kalonzo Musyoka. We'll go to the Right Honorable Raila Odinga. We will consult widely, including coming to you.
That's true.
Yes, because if you can add value, we will invite you.
Definitely.
To come and educate us.
That's true.
We'll having sessions of them addressing us and telling us what are the aspirations of Kenyans, but more of the aspiration of the 300 million residents of East Africa.
And as you consult the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, you perhaps would be throwing in some bit of advice to him. What do you make of this declaration he makes today of us, holding these kamkunjis, in relation to the IBC commissioners? And I know beyond this, there is going to be some more that he will bring to the fore in relation to other matters as he, tries to get us having checks and balances with the current government.
Linda, my brothers are here. They will comment on that.
But now, how are we going to run this?
I told you, as far as it will not affect, as far as it will not affect our relationship with Uganda, our relationship with Tanzania, our relationship with Southern Sudan.
It is okay.
Please do whatever you want within this country. For me, yes, just continue. What I want everybody, don't interrupt our free trade with other countries. Don't interrupt. Yes, but ask them. They will answer.
And I'm coming back to you. I'm coming back to you.
That's very serious.
That is extremely serious.
It is very serious because
extremely.
We need to understand that the intra affects the out. The issues about internally, after they affect today, what do we have in DRC Congo? Look at what's happening. They are here in Nairobi today.
Yes.
Trying to talk about, because there's no trade that can happen without peace.
Yes.
So you do diplomatically, you engage to make sure you engage the leaders to ensure that there is peace, so that the trade you are talking about, can work, please.
Successful.
So I think, but you see, one thing about Mheshimiwa, he's very careful. Unajua bado hajachukua Biblia. He's not here to so. But I will say this, but Mheshimiwa, this is my thinking. Now, from where I come from my background on political science and governance, it's a very normal issue. Why? As you move on as representatives of Kenya to Iyara, if you are not careful and leaving a lot of turmoil back at home, you'll be more forced to talk about those are the issues you are running away from. They are the first ones will be asked. What's happened between Raila? What's happened between the president? What's happening? Why are they throwing words? And you see now, it will even the names, the two names, they will carry with them unnecessary baggage to Iyara when they're supposed to be there, not as sons and daughters of who is who, but as representatives from Kenya. So my thinking is, the economy and the political of the individual countries. However, you are right, Mheshimiwa, you cannot talk about it openly. You cannot talk about it like here and all that. But diplomatically, when you go, that's what he was asking.
Right.
You go and say, we would need, as you go, as your representatives, to find a place that is democratically run. Remember, and Linda, we agreed. We are not asking anybody to keep quiet because it's your right. If you find yourself in opposition, you need to talk and do what you want to do. So long as it's within the law, so long as it doesn't interrupt other people's lives, so long as it is within the tenets of democracy. However, that's what I'm saying, you have a right to make sure, like now, honestly, if you meet the president of DRC, at some point, through other mechanisms, you'll be interested to know why the M23 rebels. That is part of your work. Diplomacy comes with the calling. Issues about international issues. And that's why we need an all-round person, And that's why you'll be able to do it quietly.
And Kenya is East Africa and East Africa is Kenya.
I just want a minute. Linda, and let us be really careful.
Yes.
Because my brother have said very well that at the moment, when I come to a media house like this, I'm no longer being watched by 50 million Kenyans. I've been watched by 300 million Kenyans. So any statement that I say about probably Raila versus Ruto will be picked, and when I go to Iyala, they will start asking me, I heard you say.
So are you telling us we keep silent to the ills of society?
No, I'm not saying we keep silent. I say they will speak on that behalf. And then for me, I will meet the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, give him diplomatically, give him what I think.
What you think about?
I'll meet the president, give him what I think about. But I'm being watched. There was a time that I was being watched by persons with disabilities to hear what I say about persons with disabilities and their relatives. But today, I'm being watched by 300 million citizens of
East Africa.
East African community. So I have to be very careful.
You know, English has zillions of words, and you can always play around with these words, and you know, pass across your point, but in the most noble way.
In a very diplomatic way.
And therefore, I do not agree. To a large extent, I do not agree with the argument of the two gentlemen. But yes,
I think we are pushing Mheshimiwa to
the wall.
Yeah, too much. But because he has a platform, and he will have a platform.
Okay.
Remember that in the same manner in which we have these arms of government here in Kenya, so it is even at IALA. So IALA is an assembly. We also have an executive arm of IALA, of East African, of EAC.
Yes, the cabinet secretary.
Where we have presidents sitting at the summit.
Yes.
Yeah, that forms the executive. And they are represented by the cabinet secretaries and the ministers, the way they are called in their countries. The same way, we have what is called the East African Court of Justice. The issue that you are referring to was actually referred to the East African Court of Justice on November 3rd by Mheshimiwa Martha Karua,
Yes.
who went to the East African Court of Justice to overturn the election of President William Ruto. So as IALA members, they will have a conversation. If they so wish that whatever justice or the judiciary of IALA, of EAC says, finds its way at the assembly where Mheshimiwa sits, then he will have his say.
Okay.
But I think it would be premature of us to push him to want to tell us, do you think it is right for Mheshimiwa to call for? I don't think that demos now is what Kenyans are looking for.
Yeah.
But interestingly, Baba is Baba, and we only have two Babas. One is God, then Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga.
Can you hold it at that point? Can you hold it at that point?
People, and I'm not measuring Mheshimiwa and Mwenyezi Mungu.
Yes.
People will turn for those demonstrations.
Will they?
But interestingly, I don't think they will achieve much. Because, Linda, on this issue of Cherera 4, IEBC 4, remember there was a petition. And the 4 had serious issues against the IEBC and the manner in which things were being done. How did the Supreme Court dispense those issues? We need to go back there. So our National Assembly has been given the opportunity, because that is where petitions are submitted. People have gone to petition. I don't think it is also right for the president and his deputy even to speak about this issue, because that is an issue within the legislative arm of government. They are an executive, which is supposed to underscore, of course, the fact that the president is a symbol of national unity. 15.2 million people did not vote for President William Ruto and his deputy because we had 8 who slept, and then we had 6.9 million who voted for Azimio. Then 7.1 or 2 million voted for Kenya Kwanza. We cannot just wish them off. So let's allow, and I think the deputy president needs to be advised that as a deputy president, there are things you can say. And when you say them, whether you are in church or you are in a rally, or they are the same way he's saying people are watching him. There are also people who are watching what the president is saying, what the deputy president is saying, including Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga. There are people who are watching what you are saying, and they are asking themselves, do we really want to do this? Is this how we want them to speak? Kenyans are having serious challenges. I think there are better ways that we can be able to use to deal with our issues. And because this matter is now at the floor of the National Assembly and the Supreme Court, of course I have issues with the judgment that the Supreme Court made in the manner in which it was made. I've read that 348-page plus document. I have issues. There are mechanisms to deal with some of these concerns. Let's go back and ask ourselves, what did the court say about the issues that the Cherera 4 raised? Then how do we now deal with them without calling for Kenyans to go and demonstrate?
Okay.
I think
people will attend those demos, but unfortunately it will not be very fit.
All right, allow us to take a short break. And the two of you have spoken as though you have seen a potential employer. You know, the way you have defended Honorable
No.
But it's fact, it's a fact.
He's my friend. I've known him for many years. And I don't need the money.
Sisters, we have to strengthen them. We have to strengthen them.
I agree. We take a short break and then we come back perhaps on the last laps to close it.
you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga.
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga.
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga.
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well
All right, welcome back to the broadcast. And on the very last laps of this very segment, we have Dr. Peter Mbai. We also have the Executive Director of County Governance Watch, that is Kevin Osido. And we also have, Member of Parliament-elect for, to represent us at the level of the East African Community Parliament, that is Honorable David Ole Sankok. And, we're talking about the state of the nation. And Ole Sankok tells us that he purely wants to speak East African. So I'm thinking, why do
he wants to speak about state of the nation?
State of the nations. All right, so he will speak to the education. He will speak to the education. But before we speak of the education, perhaps your position on this. You said it's in order for the Right Honorable Raila Odinga to proceed.
We have been saying this.
Yes.
We respect other people's opinions in a big way. That's democracy. This is not any other country. It's Kenya, where everybody is free too. One, the Right Honorable Raila Odinga has his right to do and to say what he wants to do. He's in the opposition and he's doing that. But I want to say from the word go, to say that the DP should not answer Raila in that way is dangerous, because that is his level. If you allow Raila to talk on his own, he's going to clear the whole country. Yeah. So the deputy president, and by the way, the way people have been saying that he has been speaking, that is his style of speaking, because he must also respond to Raila at that level. That's number one. Let's first of all be very clear. There's nothing wrong with the deputy. And by the way the deputy president has been speaking, that is him. But why do people want the deputy president to change how he was speaking before elections? That's why he got the votes. So let me be very clear. No. The manner,
Is that really
Linda, the manner and style.
Okay.
Let me repeat that again.
Okay.
I'm a communicator. I have done all these forms of communication.
Okay.
What DP is saying, is doing, is what we call political communication.
Right.
You communicate to your political base. That is how DP used to communicate before elections.
Right.
In all the media houses. I don't know why people, just to sit as it is, how he thinks, and that's what people like. So let me Linda, hold on a minute.
Okay.
Let me put it this way.
Yeah.
So please, like I'm going to give you a context of what he said yesterday, for example. You want us to go to this way? Yes. Can we do it? You see our kids, all of us, my brothers, our kids are not. It was just context. And we cleared that. Number two, there is a petition. The matter here is a Cherera 4.
Yes.
Let's be very clear. Again, Linda, what is right, let it be right until the end. Yeah. What is wrong is wrong. We have the Cherera 4. They did what they did. All along we saw them. Then suddenly, you know, the split screen, Serena and all that. And here we are today. I was waiting again as a student, an expert of governance, because somebody will ask you, why did you say this yesterday and today you are saying this?
Different.
I told, and I was on the media houses saying, can we wait for the Supreme Court? The Cherera 4 have a lawyer. They went there with the evidence, how the whole thing was scattered, right? Yes. IBC went there with their lawyers. Everybody was there. Now, the Supreme Court, the final in Kenya, said that the Cherera 4 were in the wrong. Now, Linda, what else are we waiting for? It is march and go.
Okay.
Actually, as we speak, from governance perspective, the matter is in the court, but from where I sit, my verdict came immediately after the Supreme Court ruling. There was no other story. If the High Court, the Supreme Court, found you guilty of trying, you know, to go against the will of the people, we don't need any other story. It's only that now we have to follow the law, which says a petition, you know, tribunal. The 4 are as good as gone. That is a fact in this country. And we want to be now. Leader has a right to call for meetings. Of course, he has to do what he must do. He's in the opposition, but the government, the president, has to keep on marching forward.
Okay.
You must march as you wait other people to do what they're doing. But they are not ways. Cherera 4 have to go. Sorry, let Chebukati go. Let another commission that knows. The moment, Linda, you pick the Bible and swear before God, out only 7 out of 52 million to go and investigate, supervise elections. You are no longer there on behalf of your clan or sub-clan or the political faction or your godfathers. You are there on behalf of Kenya. That is the lesson we want to see.
And we're looking ahead and looking at, you know, how logically in order that would be practical in terms of the by-elections that lie ahead, in terms of us having this office vacant and the process to begin again. Very, very important thing. I will allow you wind it up on that. But just to engage Honorable Sankok on an African perspective, on the East African perspective, as to the matter of electoral bodies, that has been the biggest undoing of every election process, if you'd want to look at it that way. Most of the times when you go to East African countries or African countries that are holding elections and you ask them what belief they have in the electoral bodies, 3/4 of them will always tell you they do not have belief in these electoral bodies. And I think such is the case when we were getting into the election. Most of the Kenyans argued that really IEBC, we do not have confidence in the IEBC. What will it take for us to streamline the electoral bodies, for us to have, you know, bodies that are going to accord us and guarantee us a free and fair process every time?
Linda, I'm still studying the various constitutions of the 7 countries. I'm still trying to study the electoral bodies so that I can understand. The one that I've understood currently is the election of Yala members, which was very democratic. Members of parliament, by cabinet of parliament, that is Senate and National Assembly, did their election in a very transparent, accountable manner. If today you want those ballot papers, you'll go and get them. And we, as Kenya Kwanza Brigade, we started our party primaries in State House, where we did our mini party primaries election, where I got 147 votes.
Are we really going to take that direction and not talk about the elections in Africa and elections in East Africa?
And the one who was following me got 26. And then we went to parliament. You know the number of votes that I got. So at least that one was very transparent. So I can say they can benchmark these electoral bodies, the 7 of them, can benchmark with our National Assembly and Senate, and probably benchmark from...
You must have seen my poster, Honorable Sankok, and we're supposed to talk about the state of the nation and not Yala. And that's how you would have told me.
But you have said you were talking about the electoral body.
Okay.
Yes, Parliament, the bicameral Parliament was also an electoral body.
And so we want these other ones to come and benchmark. Just because the national... you are elected?
Yeah. The Chebukati of our election was the clerk of the National Assembly. Njoroge. So,
can they benchmark?
They can benchmark.
Well, interesting. All right, close it for us.
I was actually hoping that Mheshimiwa would at least talk about that issue, because a few weeks ago I was in in Dar es Salaam with the chairs, and we were looking at the International Conference of Great Lakes Region, 12 countries, and how elections are done. So more or less like the Chebukatis of the 12 countries were present. And we also had Dr. Roslyn Akombe and several others, including officials from the IEBC in Kenya. And why we were there was to share the Kenyan experience. And interestingly, they have very many questions around how the election was seen to be very peaceful, how a deputy president who was pushed off by more or less an executive which he was serving, what was called the statecraft, how he even won elections, the systems that we used, how we said we opened up the servers at Bomas and everybody would, and most of them were here on the electoral observation process. Now, why that is important, Linda, is because the Electoral Management Body is an institution. Beyond IEBC 4 and the 3, there is a way in which IEBC issues are run. And in fact, beyond the policies, we have what is called the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Act. That act needs to guide what happens when there are conflicts within commissioners and even the secretariat. Now, I think that why this issue is being escalated, even beyond the Supreme Court petition judgments, is because of the manner in which the IEBC4 came out openly just before the presidential elections were announced. So people maybe thought that they were speaking for Azimio la Umoja and the others were speaking for Kenya Kwanza. Now, IEBC in its own nature and form needs to come out and clarify what happens when there are disputes. How do you resolve these disputes? And even beyond then, we saw them sitting in meetings. They have done an election review report, and the chair was there, the vice chair was there. What has suddenly happened? Are politicians subjugating the role of independent constitutional bodies so that we talk about separation of powers and independence of institutions? Are politicians targeting civil servants and public officials? Are we saying that as Kevin, because we have a board at County Governance Watch, if things are not going on very well, and I have written to you through the deputy CEO, I have raised my concerns through the chair of the board, and then ultimately I choose to resign, or I stay on and say, let the internal instruments of County Governance Watch follow through the issues I'm raising. Are we therefore saying that Kevin needs to be targeted because of the things I said, which other outsiders within the institution called County Governance Watch are unhappy about? Because we need to be careful that government and politicians should stop targeting public servants. And I'm not speaking for the IEBC, for I'm just imagining Mheshimiwa Chebukati's term is coming to an end. We get another chairman who does not see eye to eye with the prominent big political parties and does not sit very well with the secretary generals of political parties. Are we saying that now these political parties should target them? Are we saying that beyond the issues of recourse, that we can still go back to you and say that we don't like what you told the disciplinary committee, so we are coming back to you? Because we are scaring people who want to serve positively and transformatively for different interests in the country and in their positions, which I don't think should be the issue. And we have seen this happening. Judiciary, even the deputy president had issues. His issues are being thrown out of the court, but people who are elected on other parties like Mheshimiwa Barasa, governor of Kakamega, who was elected on Azimio, and having served as a director of one of those parastatals, is now being called back on cases which, we need to be very careful about certain trends that we are setting for this country, because the world is watching.
Yes.
And we've been talking about East African Cooperation. Those 300 million are watching how Kenyans are doing their businesses. Right. I think we should allow people to serve their terms. If the Cherera 4 messed up, the Supreme Court made its own judgments. What were the judgments? We allow those judgments to follow suit without necessarily having politicians taking over. And if petitions are supposed to be submitted, we allow those petitions to go in the manner in which they are supposed to go, so that politicians stop interfering, they stop imagining that people are being targeted, because there is a ripple effect at two levels. One, individual, national, and that goes even to the children of these people that we are calling the Cherera 4. So we need to be careful about how we dispense with, deal with issues, and allow institutions of governance
to take charge,
to do their roles, run their roles, and take charge of their responsibilities.
Honorable Dr. Mbai, we're not going to delve that much into that because time is running and we have to speak about education. I know you have submitted your position on the competency-based curriculum to the team that was, tasked by the president to oversee this process in the country and for us to get reforms. Today, we're having our students sitting for the examinations, class 8 and as well as class 6, at the very first stage of inception, in terms of us getting to see to it that competency-based curriculum is a success. What do you make of the progress that we've made so far? As you wish, success to this.
Yeah, first of all, it must be a momentous moment for our kids, and we wish them the best. Yeah. It's not easy, especially the first time you are sitting a national exam. And wish them the best. It's peace of mind, and to have it done everywhere without any issues on insecurity, hoping that, at least they'll be able, because of the years they have put in, at least to make it work. It's a very important season for them. And wish them the best. I could see quite a number of cabinet secretaries all over the place, from their areas, trying just to say, as government, we are behind this. We are supporting education and all that. We are looking, of course, waiting for the preliminary report of the working party. And we hope for the best. Linda, what we want in this country is something that works.
Yeah.
Vis-a-vis something that goes in there when people are screaming, others are hearing, others are saying, no, it was rushed. Look here. We want something which everybody will say, this was the best thing for Kenya. Not about somebody thinking, I want to push this because of my name. Or I don't like this, so I will kill this because I'm in power. And that's why one of the best things, everybody thought that Kenya Kwanza would come and kill CBC from the word go. But look what happened. Said, no, wait a minute. I also live in this country as a president, so can we have a task force working? So that everybody can come. And finally, but the most important thing is, we get what we think is the best. And also there's something called comparative analysis. Look at what works in East Africa. Look at what works in other countries of Africa. Look at what works in other parts of the world, because we don't live in isolation. All these issues about whichever best curriculum. Now, that is our hope. But for me, in a nutshell, look, I gave my views and all that, but in a nutshell, this hurry of kids who are very young to go to other schools in the name of junior secondary do not make sense. And I'm talking now, there are more people who have done a lot of studies on education. But I'm just saying there's an analysis here that it doesn't make sense. Just the name. They move on where they are. Teachers are given capacity to come and continue with the kids. That's we are waiting for the report. Number 2, Linda, the most important thing that's going to affect this nation. We have put all our efforts on primary and secondary. After that, all our kids with D, C, B, they are all over loitering the streets. We have lost it as a country. We have lost it. And I will say this because I've worked on these things for the last 5 years, strictly trying to look at the numbers who sit exams, the numbers who come out, in my home county of Nakuru. And the figures are bad. Linda, every year we got over 500,000 kids who don't go anywhere. They don't go to college. So what is the issue? There's something we call value chain. Value chain is where a kid is born, they go to ECD and primary and secondary, then tertiary or something, then they get a job. That's the value chain of education. It's meant to have the final. Either you do a business or you get a job. That is the value end. But today, we just do halfway. We leave it there. And for me, my contribution was we need 100% transition from secondary schools to tertiary or university. Either way, you must get somewhere. You go, even if you got E, can you move somewhere, get a skill? Even if you don't like education at all, you don't like maths, you don't like biology, okay, then go and do plumbing, but get a certificate. So that now you become variable. It's very difficult to keep up a labor force that is unskilled. That's for me is my biggest issue. So that we move on the people from secondary. They get into those colleges. Do you know the government colleges in Kenya today have the capacity to enroll everybody who does KCSE. Yes. But people don't know. Again, information. People don't know. Yeah. It's all over the place. Parents feel that after Form 4, their kids are done. They are grown-ups. Yeah. They are given borders. They kill each other there. Young girls get early pregnancies because everybody thinks it's the end of education. We must make sure we push our people. So we hope for the best. For those who are sitting exams, we hope maybe in a week, in a few days, the president is going to come out after of course, they want first of all to finish the exams of the grade 6. Then we know what to happen. But we hope that let the best. We want the best. We don't want people feeling this was rushed. Can we come back and get a consensus and agree what is the best for our kids? Because that is the whole issue. But please, we must see the whole value chain. Linda, we must see from when a kid is born, from ECD to when that person gets to the job market or business, or they're able to be on their own, but not without skills. That's where we are going along.
Well put. And Mheshimiwa, this one I know you can speak to. At least even wish them luck, if not.
Yes, yes, that is what I was starting with.
Yes.
Is that, first of all, I want to wish them all the best in the exam. They have done their best. 6 years is not a mean feat. 8 years is not a mean feat to achieve. Having been there for all those years, they have done all they can. Now the results will come out, and as your leaders, we are willing to accept any outcome of the result, because that is your level and that is what God have given you, and that the government will prepare, as you have said, for transition, so that we make sure that every child that have gone through our education system is, in one way or the other, skilled eventually. So whether you are skilled as a doctor or you are skilled as a carpenter, because eventually what will determine is the passion you have for that skill. There is a carpenter who may be selling furnitures to Parliament or State House. He's earning more than a doctor who is messing up with pregnancies of women around Korogosho there. You know, so it doesn't matter which skill have you trained in. If you are passionate about that skill, you can always excel in that particular skill. It's not only the white collar job. It's only the so-called, in quotes, professional courses. We have seen plumbers who are richer than engineers, you know, because of the way they carry themselves, the passion they have. And also is unfortunate that a country like Kenya, which have 1.7, almost 2% forest cover, which can access the largest water tower in Africa, that is the Congo Belt, and the second largest water tower, that is the Mao Belt, is importing furnitures from outside the country. You know, it's a shame. If you, of course, you cannot produce aeroplanes. Why can't you surely, as East Africa surely, produce our own furniture, you know? You know, we have been known to be a country that almost import everything. The only thing that we produce locally is children, but any other thing we import. So at least we can. So this thing of what you have said, that they should be skilled in one way or the other, that is a skill that will give us products that we don't need to import.
While it sounds funny, it could be the unfortunate truth, even though where there are things that at least we produce locally. But yes, coming to you, coming to
Linda, this,
and in finality, yes.
I think that first and foremost, it's a good thing that for the first time we are having the CAPSA exams, Kenya Primary Education Assessment for grade 6. And I think for me the question is what is the value for the two exams, so that we raise the figures of those that are getting into the next level of education at 3.4 million. But if you look at the transition levels at university, we are talking about a paltry 1.2, and if you bring in the TVET, it's about 1.4 million. The first question is, where are we losing the 2 million?
2 million.
Yeah. Historically, and for the first time, of course, we have this 3.4 million, but government needs to think through the transition process. Where are these other people dropping out, and why are they, where are they dropping out, and then why are they dropping out? Number 2 is CBC, so what? Competency-based curriculum, so what? And if you look at, for example, the exams that some of our children have done, you are being asked to, for example, swim on the floor, you know, demonstrate and describe, pedal, things which even as a parent, it becomes very difficult to be able to work with my daughter, Natalie, who is very innovative, but sometimes she comes and says, Daddy, sasa hii tutafanya aje? Because even at the level of the child, he or she cannot comprehend. So how about the capacity of the teacher to really underscore how to transfer that knowledge, because that is purely what education is supposed to do. So I am hoping that the the reforms committee, the CBC Education Reforms Committee that has been going around and is doing its report, will be able to help Kenyans to really understand what CBC means, both to the pupil, to the student, the parent, and the teacher, because it's World Cup time. And if you look at some of the videos doing rounds from some of our African countries, for example, Morocco that did very well, and particularly Senegal, that even from buildings, they are playing football and they're able to, cognitively determine which part of their bodies they can use to hit the ball and it gets to the right place. Here in Kenya, we are struggling with taking people to school, and we know that is neither their interest, nor is it what they actually want to do for the time they are in school. Why can't we open it up? Because now we have a competency-based curriculum. Help the learner to understand his or her competency, and then groom it, grow it, and mentor it, so that they are able to bring out something at it. I don't think it is fair even to government to have as many E's and D minuses just because people have gone to school and they have been subjected to either CAPSEA or KCP or KCSE or whatever exam that we are subjecting them to. But of course, it's a learning process. It's a learning curve. I think for me, we do a lot of talk in the education sector, like in all the other sectors, but a lot of times very little or many times no action. So I'm hoping that from the first CAPSEA exams moving into the grade 6 and then the KCP exam, we'll be able to learn, especially given that there has also been a lot of conversations and discussions around the education reforms sector. So I hope that there are lessons that government is learning, other stakeholders, parents, teachers, and even the private sector, and even faith-based organizations, because they also sponsor and are very active participants in education. Of course, lastly is to Kenya Kwanza government, because they said they will scrap off CBC. They took over government. Now they have said we're not scrapping it off, but there are lessons that we need to learn. Kenyans are waiting, because particularly us as parents, CBC imetuumiza sana. It is a good thing because of the manner in which we see our children bringing out the best in them. So we are hoping that the competencies within their inbuilt competencies will be brought out so that something better comes out of that. But is it okay to subject that to an exam? Is it okay to look at the infrastructure of the country? Because some people have never seen a swimming pool, for example. A parent is asked to take a photo of your child mopping, then print it. And Kevin Osido arrives home at midnight.
Yeah, at what point?
At what point? So a lot of times I have to tell the teacher, mwalimu leo hata wewe uliona kazi sio rahisi. We will bring this thing on Tuesday next week. If the printing perspective and the costs associated, how are teachers in other parts where even food is a problem, And yet, Linda, they are part of the 3.4 million that are going to be starting the exams today. So government needs to have an open-minded nature of looking at education and help all the stakeholders to embrace the different reforms, but particularly bring up practical things that we can be able to easily relate with, and therefore help our children, because there are kids who don't want to live here after they finish. They want to go to the UK, the US, they want to go to South Africa, they want to go and join Mheshimiwa in Tanzania and all that. We must give them a broader worldview of how the global community works, which I don't think is what we are doing in this country.
Unfortunately or fortunately, let's look forward to a good report, like you rightfully put it, and best in terms of us advancing the education sector. We have had many of us saying that once you come from the country and you go to a different country, sometimes you have to be taken through another training so that you fit the job market, which is definitely what we do not want. Gentlemen.
And maybe one of the things, leader, when you are there, the curriculum of some schools in urban centers cannot be the same with villages where there's not even that fraud to mop.
Right.
Completely. They have never seen those things. If you have a standardized examination, remember, with people who have never, half of the country, actually 60%, because it's only in towns when you have the luxury of, WhatsApp, you can take a photo. We need to make sure we are equal. Otherwise, we can see a lot of upset with people who have never seen things. They are seen for the first time in an exam paper. Be asked things which in other parts of the country is a luxury. They are seen, others they have never been seen.
And so because, Linda, in addition, we say GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. Remember that these kids will finish grade 6, then KCP. A lot of times, and sadly to say this, the grade you get determines which high school you go
to. Yes.
Then at the high school level, the grade you get determines which university you go to. And quite unfortunately, the grade you get at the university level determines even where you work and whether you get a job or not. Yeah. So the education system needs to help one prepare.
Some equalization point of view.
Yes.
Otherwise, we already, from the word go, we disadvantage a whole class of people forever.
Yes.
Once you give a kid E and D, in their life already, they feel they are losers.
Because
however much they try,
society has been set up and also make it easy for them to get jobs. Today we have more than, out of a paltry, I think 1.2 that we churn into the job market.
And yes.
Only, in fact, less than 60,000 can get employment. That's 66,000. So are we opening up opportunities for informal, sector to absorb them? And how are we doing it? Are we preparing spaces of uptick, whereas the economy is so difficult, industries are closing, it's very difficult to get jobs. You get A students doing mitumba.
That's true.
I have so many of my friends today doing mitumbas, and it's because that's what is there. Government says we are closing mitumbas. So what do we do with them? I have so many of my friends that I have visited in schools for mentorship who are doing borders, and they keep saying, Kevin Osido, please help me get a job.
Making some very sweeping statements. Nobody said they are closing mitumba, but that's a story of another. Nobody said, and you allow him to make very sweeping statements.
The trade minister said,
talking of, he said
we have to close, and Honorable Sankoki
he's going to make it competitive. Now on EAC, very important again, because you cannot run away from this. Education system determines the understanding of people, even for integration.
Right. Honorable Sankoki, as we sum it up as your parting shots. Yes.
Of course.
Take the challenge. Yes.
I take the challenge from them, and we really have to be careful when it comes to education. So that we don't disadvantage. As they have said, what we are doing in CBC is more of what is being done in the villages. Probably because there is a two class of people nowadays in Kenya. There are the Cerelac babies and there are those hardy ones from the villages. Now you want the Cerelac babies to learn the hardy life in villages of cooking chickens and fetching water. Yet those in villages have been doing that at home in their own respective houses. But the unfortunate thing is that you are charging them to learn what they already know. So we should also know who to teach this and who not to teach this. As they have said, mopping a floor is only in our urban centers, but in our rural areas, it should be sweeping the floor. And again, why do you teach me what I already know at a fee? Because you cannot teach how to cultivate a child from the village who is always with their parents in cultivating that. So let us know who to teach what, because you are supposed to be taught what you don't know, especially when it comes with a fee. Why should I pay to learn how to cook? And whenever I'm at home, I'm cooking. Most of our kids in rural areas are cooking. So I think we should, the expert report will come out and all these issues should be taken into consideration. Also try to align it with the East African member states education system so that we have one uniform education system in which we can integrate so easily, because we cannot talk about integration when you are studying probably French and other countries, you cannot even communicate, So we should actually try to integrate. Like now we have the Kenyan Sign Language. How can we integrate it so that they can be the East African Sign Language? It is mandatory in Kenya. It may not be mandatory in other East African states. So we should also consider, apart from the report that we are given by expert, also the system of education in the 7 member states and possibly, because in the process of widening, I've even started already talking with other countries like Zambia so that they can join in, so that we can widen. Yes.
Linda, protocol doesn't allow me to speak after Mheshimiwa, but let me just say that even as we talk about education, my heart goes out to the kids in the 24+ famine-stricken countries. I know counties. I know you've been doing a lot of Feed Kenya and all that. Number 2 is the kids who have to listen to bullets and banditry attacks, and it's really, I believe it affects them psychologically. So government needs to really think through, because again, these are perennial issues that we continue to see. So even as our children sit for exam today, we are praying to God to give them strength and grace, but that government will also do its work, particularly of security, and ensure that the bad people and killers of women and children that we continue to dialogue with. You know, we're having a conversation. We even released TikToks of a sitting cabinet secretary mimicking him about his voice and the commands he's making during certain times in this country. Of course, we have grown and we have post-2010 constitution, but what is it that President Moi used to do? That he would say something like this, and banditry attacks stop and security takes its course. I think that, so government should protect the children and the schools where all these menaces are happening, including Nairobi, where we are even scared that kids might be, their bags might be stolen from people who think they are carrying laptops. And yet they are just carrying their books to revise and perform well in the exam. So government, we are calling upon you to ensure security for every Kenyan, security for all our children.
Right.
Mheshimiwa, this one you can raise.
That one you can raise, Honorable Sako.
Security across East Africa.
Yes, security. Last speaker, the Executive Director of County Governance Watch, that is Kevin Osido. Asante sana for the great insights, as well as the Honorable Member of Parliament-elect of the East African Legislative Assembly. Asante sana for speaking to us this morning, and all the best. We'll be watching, as well as Dr. Peter Mbai, who's a governance expert.
Sorry, Linda, but we have even started a program in which you will always be accessible to the East African Legislative Assembly.
Amazing.
As we debate,
yes,
the way you access the Kenyan Parliament, so that at least Kenyan have a feel of what we do.
So get a diplomatic passport.
ASAP.
to access.
No, it will be through the